my wife started playing cricket, and that came as kind of a surprise thing. And within the community, again, many men actually play cricket here.
Hmm.
One of them, the cricket board member, they decided, like, why not women? Let's encourage them too.
Yeah.
And she became part of this cricket team. They're
Hmm.
now playing leagues and they're actually competing.
Wow.
They have
Yeah.
sponsors who are sponsoring. So before coming to boundaries, like I there is this small path where
Sure. Carry on.
which
Yes.
led me to boundaries.
Yes.
So again, soon after I finished my graduation here, so I got H1 in designing, like graphic designing, not IT or anything.
Okay.
So that would be my first focus. I can't do anything else. And you only have to have one source of income, which is from the
Hmm.
sponsor. And till now, like that's the focus.
Hello and welcome to Indian Diaspora podcast. This is your host Rahul. Today we have a very exciting guest, Kirandeep Karnati. He is a creative director based out of California in United States of America. Born in India, he had the courage to follow his dreams and pursue master in fine arts from USA, and now he's working in the creative field of filmmaking in the United States. He's working on some exciting projects that he's going to talk about, and is going to talk about his journey of fulfilling his dream in life. This is going to be an inspiring story. Kirandeep, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rahul. My pleasure.
Kirandeep, let's reflect back on your life. A lot of students in India get the pressure of pursuing engineering, mathematics, being a doctor, and I can say the same thing about the Indian community here in America. But you had the courage to realize your dream and follow your dream and take a path very few pursue. Talk to us about your journey in life.
Um, I like how you worded in and said courage. More of a courage. It was an opportunity which came when there was nothing else for me to decide. Um, you were right, like any other family, Indian family, and they have their own reasons. It's something what I heard on one of the TV shows or something, where the guy says, like, your parents are not after your passion; they just don't want to see you broke. So, and the only highlighted education in our culture right now is either become a doctor or an engineer. And uh, because I come from a family, it's a military army family, and because we were traveling so much, the exposure to the local education or native education was not so much attached to my family. And the global or the Indian, most people, my cousins, my friends, or my parents, friends, kids, they were seeking education in engineering or becoming a doctor. They and my parents literally is like, okay, these two pillars. If your kid goes to either engineering or a doctor, I think their life will be set. And
Hmm.
they did encourage me to become an engineer. Before it was they wanted me to become a doctor because my dad comes from a medical background.
Hmm.
He wanted me to, and we have two brothers, and it's like a saying, like, oh, if you have two sons, then one become a doctor and one become an engineer. um, and we have seen so many Indian movies which actually goes in the same uh, track. um, but soon they also realized that I think engineering is a better option for me, and they did push me to study, and I gave my best. Uh, at one point it was very evident that I think this is not the career I will be excelling. If I'm trying too hard, I will probably like not enjoy this career. And
Hmm.
at that point, at during that journey, um, it again, if it's funny to put it in this way that even my parents were like, "Oh my God, he is not doing that great in engineering. What else can he does?" So the silver lining for me was as a kid, and the schools we studied, Kendriya Vidyalaya schools, are popular in Indian Army families. That school promotes other activities also, like in a bigger scale. They promote fitness as well as arts and music. Everything is more encouraged in those schools, at least when I was studying. And during my schooling, I was doing really well in the field of art, winning many regional and national awards for my paintings or my drawings. They know that. Every parent know that, but they also know from history that, oh, if you become an artist, then you probably won't be famous until you're like 60s or 70.
Hmm. Hmm.
And they so they kept that as in back of their head, and then one fine day they we had to make a decision like what actually can you do. And
Hmm.
fortunately I was able to um, me and my dad, we were just traveling and we saw this billboard and it says training in visual effects. And then I think that moment when he asked me like, do you even want to try something like this? And I was like, okay. I mean, I was like, that would be my lowest point, and I had to say like, yeah, I can give it a try. And yeah, that day is I this is so etched in my head because that route, the way we were traveling, that billboard, I because that changed my entire career, and that happened literally in the year 2000.
Hmm. Universe gives you signals,
Yeah.
signs, and you have to hold on to that with all your might. But I want to go in the phase where you were lost. You didn't know what you wanted to do. Do you have memories of that phase when you reflect back, and if you can give us the feeling of how you felt, because I want this to be useful for somebody who wants to find that path in their life, and I want your experience to guide them on how you felt when you didn't have that light, and how did you navigate the next day until the universe gave you the sign.
It will be an emotional journey for me every time I go back, like remembering those days. Um, Again, we have like the 10th grade, first to 10th grade, and then you have your high school, and then you move on to your college. In the US, it's college, but we call it like intermediate, and then you go into your degree.
Hmm.
I was doing really well until the 10th grade. Not really well. I was still an average academic student, but it wasn't something which will make your parents, oh, your son is a failure or something. But after that, when we moved back to because my dad was posted in Kashmir again, and during that time the war was going on, and for obvious reasons, families are not allowed to travel to war zones, and we had to come back to our native city, Hyderabad, and then we chose whether I have to do my next 11th and 12th in KV's Kendriya Vidyalaya schools, or should I go to a private school or private college, or um, to pursue engineering. Most people who advised us, they said like it's better to go to a local state owned college than your central school. um,
Hmm.
so they took that advice. They encouraged me to go to the state education, which was fine to some extent. um, but it wasn't connecting. Um, like there wasn't any passion. Like, to be really honest,
Mm.
I was going there to study something which will make me an engineer someday. So it was still a vague path. Like, I was looking at my friends and just following what they're doing. Okay, oh, you
Mm.
have to study this to become this. And that was an everyday thing for me. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to this college right now and I'm learning something, or this will be an amazing day for me. Academically, it wasn't. But it there wasn't any communication from my parents also. Again, what my parents did for my career, I don't think any other parent would risk so much for their kid, and they did so. And But again, like I said, they don't want to see their kid not succeed in his career.
Yeah.
So that college days, I started studying, and every test that I have to give, those tests showed me that I'm not supposed to doing this. Like, this is not my cup of tea. You
Mm.
And I was failing in some subjects, which are crucial subjects for to become an engineer. Um, and whenever you get your results every year, yearly results, and I go to the place where you get your results, and I have to take that printout, go home, and I have to deal with my parents saying that, sorry, I failed again.
Wow.
um,
Yeah. Imagine. Mm.
it was, again, this was between 98 and 2000.
Mm.
And they again, my dad was in the war, my mom was with me, and it was the communication was lost. Like, I didn't get um, any space to, like, express, and no one um, had the similar experience. Like, everyone around me, every single cousin, every single friend, everyone was doing the same thing. They're all either becoming a doctor or an engineer. So there was
Yeah.
no other subject or no other career advice for me. And by the end of 99, or around 2000, that was my third attempt to come out of it. Again, I went to check my results, and I I took my
Mm.
paper, and I see there is an F on my paper, and
Mm.
you're talking about the lowest. So that day would be my lowest point. Um,
Yeah.
I took my dad's scooter. I went to the internet cafe to take the printout. I had to look at uh, my results, and I was not ready to go back home. So I left the
Oh.
scooter at the cafe. I gave the keys to the cafe owner. I said, like, there will be someone who will be coming here or looking for me. Just give these keys to that person. And even the cafe owner, like, what's happening? It's like, no. Just keep the scooter, and if someone comes looking for me, just give that. And from there, I took a local bus, and I went to the railway station. And that 40 minutes or an hour time in that railway station, like, I just went inside. To In India, if you go inside, you have to take the platform ticket to come out. Uh, I didn't even buy that because I was so sure that I'm not coming back. So I didn't care about buying a platform ticket. I went inside. I was sitting on the bench, looking at all the trains pass by. I'm, like, deciding which train I have to catch.
Oh my.
Um, and again, this if my parents watch this will be the first time they probably know uh, what else I have done. But again, I can explain them now. Um, So after all trains passed by, it I couldn't even decide which train to go. Then I started walking on the railway track, and there was one moment where I can see there's a train coming on the same track where I'm walking, and it for a second I was like, okay, I think this is where it all ends. Um, but almost when the train comes really close to me, probably something pulled me out of that. And so I stepped away. I saw that train pass, and for me, I was like, at that point, for that kid, I still remember that kid who's standing there, not even take that decision. So I was like, for me, that kid is still not sure what he wants to do in his life, and I still sympathize with him. I know I've been I it is me, but uh, so at that point, like for that moment, I was like, let's talk to mom once, like at least like I owe them this, like at least give them an explanation. So within the railway station itself, there are like public telephones. So I call my mom. I call home, and like within like it's been a while. Like the railway station is far away from home, and I didn't go home. So there is panic at home. And when I called, my mom picked it up, and she's immediately realized that it's me. I wasn't talking anything, and she knew that it's me. And the first thing she's like, "Where are you? Whatever happened, don't don't worry. Just come back home." And I was like just bawling on the phone. I was like, I don't want to come home. I failed again. And she's like, That's okay. Just come home. Just come home." And my dad was fortunately back for the vacation time, and no, I think he's already back, like for good. And he was on the phone, and he's like, oh, don't worry. Like, we grew up in a family where you are like, you respect your parents, but you also fear what they might say, and they're hard on you sometimes. And I was afraid of my dad. And even now, like my parents, like if they say something, like I will obey like a kid again. um and then my mom's like, okay, you don't have to come, just tell me where you are. I'll come, let me talk to you, and if you still decide to do something, then we'll figure it out. And she calls my friend, and both of them, they come to the railway station, they talk to me, and then I go back. So yeah, that to answer your question, so that particular moment is the lowest. Like, it's
Yeah.
like every step or every breath I took that day, it's in my memory. Like, I know what happened on that day. Like, I know how far I walked, I know how far I what kind of transportation I took, how long it took me to be there. um, so that's the lowest point. And how I came back is, from there, what my parents realized is the next chapter. So they already realized that, okay, he he this is not for him. Definitely not for him. And he has tried, he tried 3 good years learning and trying to come out of it. um, then they're like, okay, let's see some other options. So I started exploring other professions or other careers. And another career which I very briefly I tried to pursue was in IT, learning HTML and JavaScript. There is a saying in Hindi, "Kala akshar bhais barabar." I think that is very apt for me. Whenever I see just text, it's for me, it's like it doesn't connect with me. And coding and HTML and everything, when I was learning, um, it's all text. I know to some extent. Okay, you have to write this code to get this, do this, do this. I wasn't even enjoying that either. And that I gave a shot because my cousin, she was also going there, and she was like, okay, let's try this thing. and that did not work. And soon enough, I'm like, okay, maybe education is not the route I have to go. I have to probably just
Mm.
jump right into
Mm.
working and making money, uh,
Yeah.
find a living. Uh,
Yeah.
and because of my incident, like my past incident, my confidence level was not that high. Um,
Mm.
but again, there was some kind of a uh, uh, push within me that okay, I'm confident to talk to anyone. That was because of my upbringing, where I lived and how I met other people. So talking to people was not a big problem with me. So
Mm.
in those days, we have the newspaper, and there is a section where you have all the like opportunities listed in the
Yeah.
newspaper.
Classifieds. Yeah.
Classifies exactly. And I used to take that one page, and I used to decide like, okay, if I take this bus route, and I used to see like how many openings or how many opportunities are in this bus route. So I used to just circle them, and doesn't matter which profession or which job I'm applying for. I just wanted to just go and talk to them. And so I used
Mm.
to circle them, and I used to take one bus pass, and I just used to reuse it, which I'm not supposed to. But I used to take different stops, and I used to get down, go give my interview, talk to those people, come back. Uh, and I would say 80% I used to get hired. Like, but I didn't want it to get hired. I just wanted to train myself. What
Mm.
if there is an opportunity which comes and I have to talk to them? And
Mm.
so that also gave me confidence that okay, I think not education, probably something to do with marketing or something to do with speaking to people or sell something is something which I can probably do. And all those jobs were like sales agents or sales marketing agent, because they don't need an elaborate degree to sell a thing. If you're a good salesman, you're a good salesman.
Mm.
And I was doing that parallelly, and then this fortunate day happened when me and my dad were just on the road traveling, and we saw this billboard. And that institute is called Arena Multimedia, and I see
Yes.
it's a big billboard,
Yeah.
and Arena Multimedia, 3D animation, VFX, and all these things. And people were like, they started to learn about these kind of films and that career. We have movies like Jurassic Park, which people are getting like more into. And my dad, he is an artist. Like he's a
Mm.
very good artist, and he used to paint as a kid, but he didn't choose that career
Right.
because rightfully he has his own responsibilities, and art would have not helped him to take care of those responsibilities. But when he saw and he know that I am a good artist, he and I, he's just, we're on the road, and he looks at him, and I looked at him, and he's like, "Can you do this?" Then not the confidence, but the last hope kind of a thing in me, which said like, "Okay, I want to give one more shot on this one." And so we didn't even go home. He just took a U-turn, and we went to the institute on that day itself. And
Wow.
this the dean or the main head of the institute was available on that day. So we straight went to that person. He explained, and it wasn't expensive for us. It was an expensive um, institute, and the whole curriculum is like four semesters, and it was it's not just like you join and it's all done. You have to have your own computer. You have
Mm.
to invest in something to come back and do your homeworks or like train yourself in that. So I remember my dad negotiating the price with the guy, and when he found out that my dad's from the army background, and he's like, "Oh, he has some soft corner for army people," and he's like, "Okay." I'll help you with the total cost, and you don't have to pay everything in at once. You I'll give you benefit of giving in an installment. As long as he's in the school, you can divide it into these installment and you can pay it off.
Hmm.
And he agreed. And I remember he just looking at me like, this is the last time I'm putting money on you. Uh, and Yeah, that happened, and I joined immediately the next week. The next semester was like ready next week onwards, and each semester is I think 3 months. I think quarterly, 3 months, and I finished my first semester. Um, the first phone call after my failures, which came to like which my parents received, is in my praise. They're like, "Oh, your kid passed. He did really good." And that's that brought my mom in tears. Like there was something or someone in the education field there. They're like, oh, they're actually liked my son, and he actually excelled in his um, like education. In this point, that was my education, and
Yeah.
um, and I wasn't even sure like what's happening. And when I went back to the institute that first semester, I was the topper for that first semester,
Wow.
and uh, and I became a very known face in that institute very quickly because I didn't we didn't buy the computer yet. So I used to be there. Like they give you 2 hours of lab facility, so you can use the
Hmm.
lab to do your homeworks or whatever you want to do, practice. But I used to stay the entire day and just
Hmm.
waiting for anyone who leaves the chair. Then I can
Hmm.
grab that chair and I can go and practice. And you can sign up and you can go and you can practice. The rule is 2 hours is your dedicated time, but if there
Yeah.
is open spots, you can come and do it.
Yeah.
So I used to pack my lunch, go in the morning, finish my class,
Hmm.
and stay the
Hmm.
entire day waiting for spots to open. And I used to
Yeah.
just go there. And even the person who was like managing that lab is like, dude, you have to go home. You're like here almost every day. Like
Yeah.
I don't have the computer, so I have to be here. And later, uh, my dad bought me a computer, and then I
Hmm.
started practicing at home.
Hmm.
So that was my lowest, and that was a
Yeah.
quick bounce for me.
Oh my goodness. Kirandeep, thank you for sharing that very personal story. And I'm sure your parents will be watching this, and they'll be moved by that lowest of the point being on the railway track to how you came out of it. There's this movie called Rocket Singh Salesmen of the Year, right? Have you seen it?
Yeah,
It has a
one of
beautiful
my
line,
favorite films. Shimita Amin is the director. Yeah,
isn't it? It
yeah,
has a beautiful line.
yeah,
उलझे नहीं तो कैसे सुलझोगे, बिखरे नहीं तो कैसे निखरोगे.
exactly.
For those in the diaspora who don't know Hindi, if you have not tangled your life, how would you untangle? If you've not dispersed yourself, how will you come together?
Yes,
And I think in such lowest of the lowest points, you truly experience God and you experience your purpose in life. I think it's very, very important. And, philosophically, this lowest of the lows is when your feet is on the ground and you're grounded. You have a foundation for the launch that is going to happen.
right.
And that launch is what we're going to talk about, right? So
Hmm.
even Arena Multimedia fees was a challenge for your family.
Yes,
And then you decided to move to the US and not go to quote unquote safe professions like masters in IT or masters in science, MS, but you decided to go into creative field for your masters. Talk to us about that journey of selecting United States, selecting which university, selecting the course, finances for moving abroad. Let us understand this.
so after that first semester, they were so they usually do this uh, a career day kind of a thing where other professional companies they visit the institute and they handpick people for their company. Um, I and you are not part. You won't be part of that until you completely finish your 4 semesters, which is like
Hmm.
2 years. Um, Someone was looking for someone who is not as um, like there was this artist. He wanted someone who can actually color his drawings. He used to make comic books, and he
Hmm.
needed a colorist. And so one guy from that group, he came to me, and I was a really good digital artist at that time. Um,
Hmm.
I, I do still now, but that was my main, like, known for, like, oh, Kirandeep, he's a good digital artist. And
Hmm.
and that artist, like, he specifically came looking for someone who can actually do good digital painting. And no one there was like to his, like, range, because he came with a price also. He doesn't want to pay too much to someone who's doing digital art. And this guy came, my friend, he came to me and he's like, okay, someone is looking for a digital artist. Will you be able to talk to him? It's like, sure, I will. And he spoke to me. He saw my work, and on the spot, he's like, okay, you're hired. And I was like, okay, great. So I went to his place. He used to run his office from his home also. So he has his own room where he used to do all his drawings on paper. My
Hmm.
job was to take those papers, scan them,
Yeah.
bring it
Yeah.
on Photoshop at that time. and
Hmm.
and he has another proprietary software for just for comic books. So I used to redraw the lines, color them, and export them. So that was my daily job, and I constantly started doing that for like a good 1 month,
Hmm.
or 2 months maybe. But it
Hmm.
was a cookie cutter kind of a
Yeah.
job for me. Like, all I was doing was take his work, make them look a little bit better, and export. There wasn't
Hmm.
any input from my side. I
Hmm.
have to even choose the colors, what he used to tell me, like, okay, use this for this character or use this for this character.
Hmm.
But again, I was making some pocket cash, which was good for me. And during that phase, I had I had to take this material to a printer, a local printer, and at that printer they used to scan the whole big book, and then they
Hmm.
used to make it a bounded um, uh, comic. Like, that would
Hmm.
be your first draft. At the printers, there was uh, the, the peon. There was a peon, and he became a good friend of me. And he told me, dude, you seem like a good artist, but you're only doing this thing. You have to explore. There is a new guy who also comes to the same printers. He's looking for a visual designer, where he's opening a new ad agency, and he's looking for a full-fledged designer who can actually not just do this but other design work,
Hmm.
advertising, marketing material, marketing assets. And
Hmm.
he connected me with that guy. And my interview happened at the printers. So, and he just spoke to me and he's like, okay, what do you do? Can I
Hmm.
see any of your work? Then I said, yes, these are the works I have done, and I'm going to school, I'm going to an institute right now. So I probably won't be a full time. And he's like, how much time do you spend in your institute? And it's like, I spend, like, at least I have to go for my classes, but I spend rest of the day at the lab or at home practicing. And he encouraged me, like, don't apply for a part-time job, just apply as a full-time job. And then you can actually use the computer what I will be providing, practice there, and do the job, or whatever design work you I will be giving it to you. Sounds
Hmm.
like a good plan for me, and I will have a full-time job. So I approved. I accepted his offer, which is a decent offer at that time for me. And then I was doing. bigger projects. Like I was creatively, I was involved. I was funny enough. The same billboard where Arena Multimedia was displaying their ad. One of the ads I created for Care Hospitals, which is a big chain in India, at least in Hyderabad region. I designed a billboard for Care Hospitals, and the same billboard, the design what I made was there, and I was like, that's how I would show off, like, what does you kya karta hai aapka beta, and like, this is what I do, so that's my work. uh, so it was kind of a
Right.
talking thing, like I boast myself, okay, that's my design, and they were like, at one point they were like almost 10 to 12 billboards which were designed by me.
Mm.
um, and the so during this time when I was still struggling, because of multimedia, I came to know about fine arts. So there is a degree which is called fine arts. I had no idea. Nobody told me. And because again, doctors and engineering careers were like so prominent, like these other careers were like hidden behind like those big two pillars. And my teacher at the institute, he's like, you don't have a proper degree yet, you have to have a degree, you can't just do a diploma course and continue in your career, you need to have a degree. Then I said, like, I tried, I I didn't get into it. It's like, what did you try? And I was like, I tried for engineering. No, 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 you are in a creative field, there is a degree specific for creatives, and it's called fine arts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, what do I have to do? And they're like, you have to do an aptitude test, and if you pass, then they'll let you in. I went to a private school, which was, for me, it was piece of cake. I just got into that. But again, that private school was uh, kids who didn't like, same like me, kids who didn't go into any field, desired field. They come there because just they want to have a degree in their hand, but
Mm.
not most people were like passionate enough to actually do artwork, do paintings, or do creative work. And since it was a private school, the fee was really high, and the kids who came were like uber rich kids because it was located in that region of Hyderabad. And I
Yeah.
was like, dude, can we do this? And they're like, yeah, I mean, you want to do it, you do it. Then I came to know about JNU, which is like very famous in India. It's a central university, and soon realized that JNU also has a fine arts division, an entire college for fine arts. Very famous, very tough to get into it.
Mm.
And I was like, the next year I have to get into JNU. And so there were like almost 600 or more than 600 applicants for 20 seats. So that's the range. And I I got a 16th rank, which was like good for me. And they said like, okay, you got in. And because it's a central university, and the fee was not that exuberant, I was able to pay my own fee. I used to pay my own materials for painting and everything. So my first degree was bachelor in fine arts. Fine arts as my major, like painting was my major.
Yeah.
So
Wonderful.
that's how I got into um, like finishing my. So I was working full-time job. So my
Yeah.
college was from morning 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. and I used to take a 1 hour lunch break, and my job used to start from 3 p.m. to
Yeah.
11 p.m. So that cycle from morning
Yeah.
8 a.m. to night 11 p.m.
Yeah.
was there until I finished my education.
Right. And how did masters to the US happen after that?
So I finished my bachelor's, and I was like, okay, fine. I think we are good. I have a degree. After the the job at the ad agency, my the guy who actually hired me, he moved to Middle East to become. He got an offer and he was
Hmm.
setting up uh, an agency here in Middle East. But it was just him. He couldn't take anyone else with him. So I had to leave that job, and he's like, "Yeah, I mean, if there is another opportunity, you can probably join me." But I was like, I was already very like I didn't enjoy my college days like any other student. I still I don't know if I regret it, but I never enjoyed like that after school hangout time with friends or like going to movies or something. It never happened with me. Like I was
Hmm.
always either working or studying. Um, and for that 2 months of a break, I started feeling, oh, okay, I'm just a student now. I don't have to work or anything. But some of my friends, they couldn't see me doing nothing. They're like, dude,
Hmm.
you have to do something. And one friend, she was applying for other design jobs, and she's like, okay, I'm applying anyway. I'll take your resume. I will do it for you too. And she submitted somewhere, and I get a call, and a guy from in a very American heavy accent. His name is Brian. He calls me. He's like, okay, I got your resume. Do you want to come for an interview? And I was not aware that my resume went to this place. But and I said, yes, yeah, I can come for an interview. And this place is called Best Approach. The head office is in Arizona, Phoenix,
Okay.
Arizona,
All
and
right.
they design yardage books, which is if you play golf, there's a yardage book where it tells you how the hole is and how many like you actually design the whole like from GPS data. You have to design all the trees, rocks, where the hurdles are. You have to
Okay.
design that, and that was the
Hmm.
first. They just opened that company in India, and he was looking uh, for candidates like me, and he hired me immediately. And I said like, but I cannot do a 9 to 5 job because I have school in the morning. And it's just for me. He literally walked out of his office and asked the people who were already hired, like he asked like how many people want to do a second shift, which starts from 3 p.m. in the evening. And to his surprise, most people they just raised their hand, like because they preferred the evening shift than the morning one. So
Okay.
that happened, and we had a new shift, and he's like, okay, Kirandeep, I think there is a new shift, so you can actually join from uh, you can join the evening shift. And I said like
Hmm.
that will work for me. And it was great working at Best Approach, and we I was able to do I, s- I got hired as a visual designer. I was designing all
Okay.
these things, but I also they also gave me opportunity to research on more ways to do those yardage guides. And since I
Hmm.
had a background in 3D designing or
Hmm.
3D modeling, I started
Hmm.
giving them like different type of research, like, oh, we can do this. And I was
Hmm.
at one point I was the R&D person in design.
Hmm. Hmm.
And they loved the idea. We collaborated with the 3D designer from Canada, and his career was in aeronautical 3D simulation. And we collaborated, and we started creating these aerial fly-throughs of all the
Hmm.
golf courses around the world
Okay.
with the GPS data.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was going great. Um, Soon after, I graduated during this phase, and some of my seniors from school, they moved to India in the same profession, and I was aware of that. And uh, but I again, the financial situation to like travel to another country and study wasn't in our minds. And the at one point, my boss Brian, he actually asked like, okay, do you want to go to USA? We will take
Hmm.
care of your eh, like stay and all, but you
Hmm.
have to study in USA, and you will be working for us. And does that
Yeah.
sound good? It's like, yeah, it's actually really good. I want to do that. Then I started exploring universities in Arizona. I realized like there are not many big universities whose focus is on arts or fine arts in that. And there was one university, ASU, and
Hmm.
ASU is a good university, but for the program what I'm looking for, it's not that established. And I said, can I do a remote work? Like there are other universities in different states. Can I
Hmm.
go there and still work for you? And for them, that was not the route they wanted to go. They said like, no,
Hmm.
we want you physically in the office, physically in Arizona.
Hmm.
If that's not happening, then sorry, we can't do that.
Hmm.
And that the wish to go to United States and study was still stuck in my head. And I started exploring and doing my research, like what kind of universities my seniors went to, and
Yeah.
what kind of program I have to uh, apply for. And
Yeah.
two of my seniors who are still very close to me, they live in California. They said like they went to Academy of Art University, which is in San Francisco,
Okay.
and it's a very well-known private university.
Hmm.
And I wanted to explore more on animation because that was my previous major. So animation and VFX, and so then I tried to find out how much it would cost.
Hmm.
Uh, since it's a private university, the cost was really high,
Mm-hmm.
and the student council from here, from the university, they started guiding me like how I can actually get student grants or get student loans. um, and I took that information, went to the nearby bank in India, and they
Mm-hmm.
said, yeah, you can get this amount of student loan, which should cover your education.
Hmm.
So again, the whole family discussion at that point, we
Yeah.
my parents just built their new house, and
Okay.
not just built, but it's been like few years, and the bank was like, we can't just give you money, we can't just loan you money, you have to put something as collateral. And
Hmm.
the only thing which matched that price was the house.
Oh
And
my God.
I don't know what made my parents like believe in me, like that, yeah, he will
And
pay it back.
he had earlier said this is the last time he was putting money on you.
Yeah.
But
No, he did that several times. Although he said that time, but he helped me. Both my parents, they if they didn't support me, if they said no, we can't do it, there is no way I was
yeah.
able to afford to come to the US.
Yeah.
I tried to convince them. I said like, okay, let's try this one, and soon after I finish, I'll pay off the house, and they they risked it. And
Yeah.
uh, and again, when we are talking about universe and science, there were so many times it was either the bank manager was not available, the loan sanction is not happening. um, I went to the visa interview, and I got the visa, and even the visa person is like, oh, wow, you are going for something not many
Yeah.
people go for, because
Exactly.
everyone is going to the US or abroad to study engineering or IT.
Yeah.
And for that person, so I went to the Chennai consulate. There wasn't any Hyderabad consulate, so I went to Chennai, and in front of me there were like four people who were literally getting rejected, and I was the
Oh
last
my.
person for that counter. And I was like preparing myself. Okay, I think she's in a really bad mood, and she's like rejecting everyone. So, but when she saw my papers, and she was
Yeah.
like pleasantly surprised, and it's like, oh wow, okay, something is different. And she asked questions like, how would you um, uh, like afford to go and do? And then I explained my dad what he does, and we have a loan which is approved. Then I got my visa, but the loan is approved, but the check hasn't been out yet. So for
Okay.
me to travel, I have to have the check. And it only happened like a day before I'm traveling. So it was like a very nerve-wracking time.
Yeah.
So, but all in all, everything happened for good. And then I came to the US, and for the first time, I was like, oh my God, I still can't believe like I'm here. I'm the same person like 10 years ago, no, 8 years ago, which who didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Now he's completely in a different country, trying to do
Yeah. Yeah.
something completely
And
different.
it
What
is,
other?
you got an H1B in this field,
Yes,
which is very rare, I believe, correct?
it is. It is rare.
Wow. But I want to take a pause, right? Just reflect back on your story, on the people who made it happen. Of course, number one, your parents,
Yeah.
right? The teachers at Arena Multimedia,
Yes.
that person in the printing press,
Yes.
who connected you, that friend of yours who sent your resume.
Yes.
You didn't know where, but you received a call, Brian,
Brian. Yeah.
who
Brian
saw
Gamble.
talent in you and supported you, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that makes me think no man is an island. And this is not about you, this is about anybody, right?
Yeah.
It's the people around you that root for you, that connect the dots in your life, and it's so important for, everybody listening here just to realize who your tribe is and just take a moment to hug them, thank them, just be very grateful for the role they play in our life, because without them we are nothing. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
Back to you. I just wanted to reflect back on that.
Um.
Over to you.
Yeah. 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 Again, I know everyone who you mentioned, their names and where they are, except for the
Yeah.
the guy at the printer. I know his name. His name is Ramesh.
Yeah.
But I don't know where he is. But I remember him. My first boss, his name is Venkatram, and he
Yeah.
is a brilliant guy. He still works in the same creative field. He's back from the Middle East, and he's still doing like, but his shift from proper design to marketing has shifted, but he's still running.
Hmm.
Recently I spoke to him. His son is in the US right now, and he needed
Okay.
some kind of guidance from me to help, like, talk to his son, or help him in other
Yeah.
factors. So when I was working
Mm.
with him, his son was like literally like I used to hold him in my hands. Now he's going to college in the US. So
Wow.
that's Mr. Venkatram. And Brian Gamble, he's the one who hired me, and
Yeah.
he was the division manager for Best Approach.
Sure.
And the friends who came here, two of my close friends were like Chandra and Ramesh. They are
Yeah.
here, and they told me like, okay, this is a university you can actually
Yeah.
apply for, because we are going to the same university. So
Sure.
them, the girl who was she was not my classmate, but she was in a different department, but we were
Yeah.
friends, and her name is Khushbu. She's the one who sent the resume, like random resume, and that's her. She lives in the US. She has a beautiful family. She lives in East Coast. She has two sons. We talk again. I talk to Ramesh. Ramesh is here. He lives like um, about like an hour away from me. Chandra, who also lives here, he lives half hour from where I live. So
Hmm.
all these people are still connected, and all
Yeah.
these people are still the same. Uh, they we share the same thing.
Yeah.
What we went through. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this has been a great story of reflection in, the lows in life, and how do you come out of it, and how people connect the dots for you. So here, you are in the land of opportunity, America. You're part of the Indian diaspora in America now. People achieve big dreams here. This is the land of opportunity. Talk to us about your latest venture, which is Boundaries. You got a beautiful story of your wife moving into the sport of cricket, and how you're celebrating that journey. But
yeah,
we can also reflect on the other work you have done in filmmaking, and
yeah,
how you're building a name for yourself in the community.
Absolutely. So before coming to boundaries, like I there is this small path where
Sure, carry on.
which
Yes.
led me to boundaries.
Yes.
So again, soon after I finished my graduation here and securing an H1, I have to work in the. So I got H1 in designing, like graphic designing, not IT or anything.
Okay.
So I have to. That would be my first focus. I can't do anything else. And
Mm-hmm.
since that day, for any H1, you cannot get money, or you can't get any other source of income. It's legally it's not right, and you only have to have one source of income, which is from the sponsor. And till now, like that's the focus.
Mm-hmm.
um, so getting an H1 was crucial for me to stay in the United States
Yeah.
first, and to have a little bit more secure financial life. And that gave me some freedom, some cushion to reflect back. Okay, I have studied what I wanted to study. Now I have to pay back my parents, and I have to get the house back also. And
Mm.
uh, then I started focusing on the career I was focusing. But behind my head, it's like I always wanted to, like, the main goal was to write or be in the film industry. But it wasn't strong enough for me to, like, leave everything and become a director or something. I was still being very cautious. I'm still being very I don't want it to risk. I wasn't taking any risks.
Mm.
And because nothing came to me like that easily, that I consider myself like risking it and probably lose it. I'm still very cautious guy. um,
Mm.
and during that phase, one of my friends, Uni, who's literally been with me since that one project, and we are now a team. Like, we make films. I will talk about him in a bit. um, and so he was the DP on that project. Rajesh Naroth, he's the director, and he was making a film called Flame. And
Mm.
I became part of that project as a project production designer. So I used to
Mm-hmm.
design the set. I used to design. I was taking the responsibility of costume designing, how to create that. Like, they create. We have to create um, an Indian setup in the United States, which we achieved in his garage. So we had to design the whole art direction.
Okay.
So once that happened, that the sparks just came in at that point. It's like, okay, filmmaking is still uh, uh, around the horizon, so I can actually still go without getting paid. I can still do my passion. um,
Mm.
and so that project happened, and slowly I started building. I started writing, because you need to have a story to explore more. That's
Mm.
how my writing career started. And
Interesting.
I still have that story, which is, I would say, that's my baby, like, moving forward. And it's a feature length film, which will happen pretty soon. And I was started writing, and along all these years, then you have to do certain things. You have to get married. You have to make your parents happy that, okay, you have a family now.
Yeah.
You're settled. So some like uh, like places in your career or in your life, you have to convince your parents that you're doing okay. So getting married was one of those things. And then I met my wife. We were just talking for, like, online for, like, almost a year. And then literally 20 days before I got married, I get to see her face to face. So again, it's not unusual. There are
Mm.
families who got married without even seeing their faces. So
Yeah.
at least I was fortunate enough to know who I'm getting married to. And she came into my life. We came back, and our first goal was to do something and pay off the loan what I had. and that
Yeah.
was our primary goal. And she helped me, and we saved, and we paid off the house. So that was a big relief, because
Wow.
I was paying off my, like, if I pay off the house, then I'm done with any loans or anything, because my
Yeah.
education was tied to my parents' house.
Mm.
So once that happened, the heavy lift of financial burden was a little bit less for me. And then I started exploring where
Mm.
where I can actually get more
Mm.
deeper into this thing. Then we saved enough to buy a house. We saved, like, and moved to this area where I live. It's called Mountain
Mm.
House. And all my writings throughout these years, they are still there. So now I
Okay.
was going back. Okay, now I'm in a
You bought a
house,
house in Mountain House, California, right?
Mountain
The
House,
state.
California.
All
Yes.
right, excellent. And buying a house in California means
Yeah.
you have arrived.
It's yeah. I got fortunate. Like, to be honest,
Yeah.
it wasn't a easy thing for me to do, but
Yeah.
it wasn't a big risk. Like, I had to, like, put all in to the buy the house, but it helped me. It still
Mm.
is helping. It's the biggest cushion for me. Like, just in case if something happens, I still have something
Yeah.
behind me which can secure the family. And this relief that I don't have any bigger financial burden,
Yeah.
opened my horizon,
Mm.
and I was like,
Mm.
okay, let's now start doing it. And that's
Yeah.
how I started collaborating with people in the community, in my friend circle. And the first film, which is a short film, which was written and shot in one day. I wrote that short film in the morning. We spent the night to film, and it was done. And that was my first. Um,
What's the name of that film, Kirandeep?
Sorry,
What's the name of that film?
the name of the film is Malli. It's a Telugu film.
All right,
Um,
that's Alli, Malli. Got it.
Malli. So
Okay.
Malli, like, I do speak Telugu, but it's not as fluent as my Hindi. Like, my Hindi is much more polished than my Telugu.
Okay.
So Malli is it's a name also. It's a name of a flower, and Malli is also is like derived as again.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be a name, it can be the phrase again.
Mm-hmm.
So that short film is based on, like, a reoccurrence of the same incident, but in
Mm-hmm.
and visualized in a different format. It's kind of a horror thriller kind of a thing. But it's a really short film, like, I think 5 minutes or something. But that was my first taste as a director, and I loved that experience. Like, okay, yes, I think I can direct people. I can tell people to do this and this to make a proper film.
Yeah.
And during that time, Uni Uni Krishnan Ravindranathan is his full name. He goes by Uni Rav, and he's a cinematographer. He went to the same school as me, and we crossed path when I joined the same company where he was working for,
Mm-hmm.
and where I'm currently working. It's called Sync Designing. It's an ad agency, and through
Okay.
him I got into this agency. And he was already very established in filmmaking. He was a DP. He's a
Mm-hmm.
very well-known photographer. That was his
A
major.
DP is, for those who do not know,
A
what's
DP is
DP?
a director of photography,
Okay.
which
All
is
right.
also cinematographer. So
Okay.
some go by cinematographer, some go by DP. DP is much
Got it.
higher, because it also involves how a cinematographer visualizes the whole scene, including
Yeah.
lighting and everything. So he's actually directing the whole visual treatment of the film. So
Okay.
Uni was a DP, and he realized that I have similar goals, and he started realizing the kind of stories I'm writing, and started encouraging, like, we have to do it, we have to do it, we have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the risk taking factor was not in me yet, but I was curious, but I wasn't taking any risks. because I have my responsibilities. Like I still do
Yeah.
keep my family first. Like I have to secure that first before I go into my passion. Um,
Right.
and Uni and we collaborated on this film called The Final Doubt,
Okay.
and I have written that, and it was the first piece which I was very, very proud of. I was like, wow, this is good. And it also gave me confidence, like, okay, I feel it's good. Let's see what the audience is. So we started sending it to film festivals. And
Hmm.
good enough, like we won more than 25 international awards for that film.
Wow.
And
So the movie is Final Doubt,
The Final
correct?
Doubt. Um,
The Final Doubt. All
the
right.
final
So
doubt.
just for listeners, The Final Doubt, do watch it.
Yes.
All
Um,
right, back to you.
yeah, you'll find it on YouTube. Um,
Okay.
just put The Final Doubt with my name. I think you'll definitely find that.
Okay.
So it's a short film.
Mm-hmm.
That film was um again, without spoiling a lot. It actually touches subjects on drug abuse and
Hmm.
how that affected that character in that film. So I can't say more. If anyone wants to watch, I don't want to spoil it for them.
Yeah.
Uh, and because the recognition started pouring in, it's like people like, oh wow, you did great. Both the actors, Sarah Neiman, she's really good, and she's going to be part of Boundaries. And
Okay.
the male actor, Ankur Srivastava, he's both of them did a fantastic job in that film. And so that was like a 10 to 12 minute film. So
Hmm.
the length of my scripts started getting bigger, the duration getting bigger, the pages are like longer. From a 10 page to a 30-page script I have written, and
Hmm.
37 North is coming out this year, but it will
Hmm.
go to the festivals first before it comes to the general public.
Hmm.
So 37 North is a 30-page, which is a 30-minute episode of a three-part film, and
Hmm.
we shot that. It took one entire week. We went to the woods, we stayed there, we finished the whole filming. Now it's in post production, and
Hmm.
that came out really well. We are really proud of that film also.
Hmm.
Um, and parallelly, I started writing many more scripts. Um, I was part of another film, Bhangra Baby, which was produced by a, a, a team. I mean, they're husband and wife. The company's name is Two Dog Media. Like there are two dogs who are actually getting into media, and it's their story. And
Hmm.
I joined hands with the wife. She's the co-director on Bhangra Baby. We finished
Okay.
that filming, and that film is also in post production right now, and which
Okay.
will come out this year. And
Okay.
Uni gave his short. He did direct films before, but
Mhm.
he didn't do a solo directorial, and
Okay.
he collaborated with a writer. Her story, and it's a very powerful story about Middle Eastern migrants who moved to United States, and how they are actually living, uh,
Hmm.
like people from war zones like Syria, and how they
Thing.
are actually living.
Yeah.
So the
Hmm.
movie's name is Gray Skies, which is also coming out this year. So
Okay.
many things are coming out this year which are done filming.
Yeah.
Um, During this whole thing, I was sure that I have to make a feature film. So I
Hmm.
had like four films in my bucket, which I constantly keep writing and iterating. I wasn't sure which one I have to launch first, which one I have to focus more.
Mhm.
Apart from these four stories, my wife started playing cricket, and that came as kind of a surprise thing. And within the community, again, many men actually play cricket here.
Mhm.
One of them, the cricket board member, they decided, like, why not women? Let's encourage them too.
Yeah.
And she became part of this cricket team. They're all
Mm.
friends. at that point, they're just friends coming together. Okay, let's learn cricket and see how it goes.
Hmm.
It grew within the community so strong that they're
Yeah.
now playing leagues and they're actually competing.
Wow.
They have
Yeah.
sponsors who are sponsoring for the
Yeah.
game. And since I
So,
was
Kirandeep, I want to say this for other listeners not in the US from the diaspora. Cricket is one of the fastest growing sports in the United States. In
yes,
fact, we had an IPL, if I'm not wrong, here in the
yes,
US.
the United States was in the IPL and they actually did really good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And here in Nassau County in New York, where Prime Minister Modi was there, one of the largest cricket stadiums were
yes,
established. So
yes,
this cricket is growing, and in this milieu environment, you know, female cricket is catching up, and immigrant wives are professionally taking up cricket. That is a superb development happening in the diaspora. Kirandeep, over
yes,
to you. Carry on.
yes. So so this again, when I'm talking about my wife, she's friends with other wives primarily, and all of them, like every woman is excelling in their career, in their journey. They are doing almost equally or more than what men are doing. But I have seen her, and she runs her own business, and she's a business owner. She doesn't have a 9 to 5 job, but I have seen her like do a proper business, how to run, and she takes care of that.
Wow. Okay.
So, and her friends also, they some of them are in IT profession, some of them also have their own businesses, and they play every weekend. And when the weather is like very good, they decide to arrange this tournament. They go play, they win, and soon enough one corner of my house started getting busier with all the trophies and all. And this whole trophy thing, like so many trophies that it's people who don't know that my wife plays cricket and just come in and see the cricket trophies. They will
Yeah.
soon think that, oh, Kirandeep plays cricket, probably these are his
Yeah.
trophies. But
Yeah.
to their surprise, maybe a handful of them are my trophies, which my wife forced me to play. I don't go play like a sport, but she's like, there's something called family cricket league, where husbands
Okay.
and wives they play together. So
Okay.
in each team you have both men and women, and
Yeah.
many times like I'm competing against my wife's team, and
Yeah.
they become very competitive. Like they're like, oh, I don't care if you're my husband, I'm giving my best. And yeah, and she like most Indian men, they boast that yeah, cricket is our second religion and we are good
Yeah.
at it. But
Hmm.
there were instances where I was like, she took me out, or other women, they were like that good that I was out. Like surprisingly, I was like, wow, this is great. So the idea of her joining a cricket team was the logline. That's the idea of a story.
Yeah.
But I have to come up with the reasons also, like why this story anyone would want to watch
Hmm.
if it becomes a movie.
Hmm.
And within her team and women who are playing in the community, I have seen different types of women.
Hmm.
And when I say types, it's not just physical appearance, although physical
Hmm.
appearance is also a factor. Women who are newly married, women who have kids who are older, women who have kids who are younger,
Yeah.
different type of body. Like some women are heavier on their body, some women are really skinny. So I see this diversity within themselves, and they're still competing with the same passion.
Yeah.
For everyone, it's like, oh, we have to win. And how
Well,
each one's, I know my wife's story, like why she wanted to go into
mhm.
cricket is she wanted to connect with more people, like more of
Yes.
her friends. She can make more friends. So that was her reasoning. But I
Okay.
wanted to explain like what could be the other reasoning. And some are personal stories, and some I started to imagine what if. Like, okay, what if someone got an opportunity like this
Mhm.
and they
Mm,
have to play uh, a game, and that
mm,
will change their life. And
mm,
then I started writing that, and I started building those characters. And
mm.
fortunately, cricket is a game where you have to have 11 characters, 11 players. So I have
Okay.
11 characters in the film
Okay.
who come from different backgrounds, different uh, society, different religions, and
Mm.
one of the characters is actually a white girl,
Okay.
and her story is like, why does she have to be a cricketer? Like, what motivated her
Yeah.
to be in the team, and how
Mhm.
she actually, at one point, she's the most critical player uh, to change the whole dynamic of the story. So she becomes
Yeah.
like a main character in that portion of the film. So
Mm.
it's not like, oh, there is one main character. All these 11 players are all these 11 individuals who come from different type of um, areas of it could be financial, it could be emotional, everyone coming from different areas, why they are doing this, what
Mm.
motivated that.
Mm.
And that story, when I discussed with Uni and his company, he owns Visual Narrative Films. It's a production house, and we both collaborated on all the films what I just mentioned. And he
Mhm.
does bigger productions. He has experience producing feature films, and
Mm.
rightfully so. He was the first person I would discuss something like that.
Mm.
And when he heard this story, he's like, "Dude, you have to make this. This is a very good story." And
Mm.
his encouragement, and people who know that I'm into this field, and when I shared this synopsis of the story, everyone said like, "This is the story I want to go and watch. This relates to everyone who are actually living in the United States."
Yeah.
And because of the subject, everyone in India, they will definitely see some part of them in the film.
Yeah.
It could
Yeah.
be as a player, it could be as an individual, it could be something which they wanted to do and they couldn't do it. So
Mm.
the story of these many individuals in the story, it connects to all of these people.
Yeah.
So that's
And
how
when
the
is
idea
this?
of boundaries came.
Got it. Got it, Kirandeep. Certainly this is such an exciting, riveting topic. Cricket and immigrants and women empowerment. All of this coming together. And even a white female actor bringing an element of America into this. Now,
Yeah.
when is this movie scheduled to be released, Kirandeep?
We are in the pre-production phase right now,
Okay.
and the because we have so many characters, main all of them are main character. Because so I wanted to give good enough time for the pre-production phase. So we
Okay.
started the casting right now, and we got a tremendous amount of actors who applied for all the characters. And
Okay.
just female itself, we have almost 180 candidates for to play
Okay.
the parts, and we are
Okay.
actually going through that. And during this pre-production phase, we will be doing um, mostly pre-production, which is like developing the story, working
Yeah.
on the visuals, working on locations.
Okay.
Everyone in the community, they are actually helping me with the location. They're offering their houses to film. That's how we are actually
How?
will be able to do this.
Yeah.
And this pre-production phase will go until February next year.
All right.
And there will be many workshops, acting workshops, and um, like table reads, and not everyone is from California. There are
Yeah.
actors who are coming from different parts of United States, and
Okay.
they love the story. They don't mind traveling and staying here and do the film. So the
Yeah.
film will be on. The production of the film will be in March next year,
All
and
right.
that will be a 30-day production. So
Okay.
in 1 month, we will be finishing the primary shoot, and
Mm-hmm.
soon after that, we will do post production, and we will be sending it to the film festivals beginning of July next year.
Yeah.
So
Got it.
people who go to festivals, they will be able to watch the film.
Yeah. Excellent.
So that's the
Excellent.
timeline.
We love that. So, Kirandeep, this has been a long podcast, 1 hour and 18 minutes so far, but the
Wow.
story, right, of you starting from, searching your what you want to do in your life, right? And until here, I just want to bring this full circle, you know, when the force above you, the higher power, God, when he or she closes some doors for you, is also opening some other doors for you to walk on
Hmm.
towards a path of uh, brilliance, which is where you are now. And all power to you, Kirandeep, for uh, all the projects you're doing and also the boundaries.
Yes.
It's a very, very exciting topic. So we can't wait to see for this to be released next year. And also thank you for sharing your journey on uh, the career on of creativity, which
Yeah.
I'm sure is going to inspire a lot of listeners to follow the path of their dreams, whatever that is, beyond traditional paths, what the society says that they should do. Kirandeep, I would love to wrap it up with some rapid fire questions,
Sure.
just to bring some fun. So, your first question is um, a movie that you recommend anybody should watch.
An Indian movie or an international movie?
Any movie, go for it.
My top movie is Shawshank's Redemption, which has like a deep um, in creatively and as a filmmaker, I go back to that movie and I would recommend that movie. A Hollywood movie is Shawshank's Redemption. Yeah.
Okay, all right, excellent. Next question: an Indian American talent, whatever, director, actor, that the world should know about.
I was very inspired by M. Night Shyamalan, and
Mhm.
he obviously the movies he actually created. Sixth Sense is something which resonated with his vision,
Mhm.
and yeah, I look up to his creative work as a director. Um,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Uh, an Indian talent that the world should know about from India.
Sachin Tendulkar, which I don't think anyone like they already know him, but his journey and how he was so focused, and what he did for his country and how he did it. That I think Sachin Tendulkar and creative field. I think I look up to actors like again. n- They don't need any like recognition. They already so established. Like Om Puri, Nasiruddin Shah. They're like a go
Yeah.
to film school for me.
Yeah.
All their films. Irfan Khan is uh, I I never cried for any celebrity dying ever, but I cried when Irfan Khan died, and
Yeah.
he's another institution for me. If I have to
Yeah.
learn something, I go watch his films.
Absolutely. Next one. Future of filmmaking, long format or short format?
Storytelling has evolved, and every generation storytelling has its own space. We come from a country where storytelling was literally in front of theater or on stage, folk stories and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Storytelling from your grandparents is a very common uh, thing was in the past. If it still happens, I would think those people are really fortunate that their grandparents are still telling the stories. Um,
Hmm.
and grandparents' stories are always like 5 minutes, 10 minutes until you go to sleep. So the duration of the film, I wouldn't say which is better. It's the subject what you're actually showing. If you have the right subject, duration doesn't matter. There are films which are like 4 hours long and people are still glued to the story. and there are
Mm-hmm.
films which are like 10 minutes and people turn it off within the first 2 minutes. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not the duration, it's the content which drives the creative storytelling.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Next one. You're from Hyderabad. The
Yes.
best place for biryani in Hyderabad.
When I was in Hyderabad, I think uh, it's Paradise. I think
Okay.
that's a very known place. At that time, it was very popular. It's been a while. I had food in India. I like when I go back to India, I would prefer my mom's food, and she makes really delicious biryanis. So
All right. All right.
yeah, so Paradise is one which is quite popular.
All right. Excellent. And best Indian restaurant in California.
Ah, oh, going to make me the bad guy here. Best Indian. There was one, and this is long time ago. I don't know if they're still open. And this was in
Okay.
downtown San Francisco, and I live quite far from downtown right now.
All right.
Um, and when I was in Goa in India, and I had Goan food. I don't think anyone actually does like authentic Goan food. And this place called Viva Goa, if I'm not if I don't if I'm right, I think it's Viva Goa in San
Okay.
Francisco. I had food there, and it tasted exactly like how I tasted food in India in Goa. So
Okay.
authenticity wise, I think I would say that restaurant.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Finally, to bring this home, Kirandeep, if there is any young soul, or even not younger, watching you and wants to get into filmmaking, maybe in India or staying elsewhere, what would be your message to that person?
You have to know that this is what you want to do. um, it's weird for me to say this because at at that point, at my lowest point, I didn't know that I wanted to do this. It was just presented to me, and I had to make the decision whether I want to do this or not. And I made that decision. But if you realize, and if you're fortunate enough to realize that, okay, this is what you want to do, start early. Just don't look for any other career path, because if you know this is what you want to do, there are so many means right now where you easily can research if this path is actually good for you or not. And because of many sources now, we literally now AI can answer all your questions. If you just ask, put it in a right frame of sentence, AI will tell you what to do, how to do it, when to do it, how long it would take it. You have all the answers. So doing research is quite easy right now. The only challenge is whether you have to, the only challenge is you have to know this is what you want to do.
Hmm.
If you get exposed to many things and if you don't realize which direction you want to go, it will be hard for you to um, channel yourself in one direction.
Hmm.
So how to has become very easy, but what has to come within yourself. You have to know this is what you want to do, and
Hmm.
you don't even have to risk too much. You have to do your research. That's the minimum you should do. Do your research and get everything in front of you. Spend time and know how long it takes to become what you want to become in the creative field, and what are the tools you have to use.
Hmm.
And when you get all those answers, spend time just for yourself and convince yourself, okay, I can do this. And then I think and even the entire Indian diaspora, they are starting to realize, okay, this there are other careers for their kids, and they are actually excelling. And
Hmm.
my, simple example, my cousins after me, most of them, not most of them, like a good chunk of them, they went into a different profession
Hmm.
than engineering and doctors. And their inspiration was me, because I'm the oldest in my generation, and they're like, oh, he's not doing engineering, but he's
Mm-hmm.
doing well. So even their parents like, yeah, I think there are other careers kids can opt for. So to answer your question, yeah, create, if you want to get into creative field, just know exactly what you want to do. It's a creative field. There are so many things in this one. You have to pick exactly what you want to do.
Hmm. Excellent. With that, Kirandeep, thank you so much for sharing your journey in life. And we are very excited about what you're building, what you're creating. And from the entire diaspora, all power to you
Thank
to,
you so much.
to create history uh, through your work in the future.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thank you. Closing the podcast. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.